call the Delaware County Commissioners meeting to order. It's Monday, October 15, 2018. The time is 9:01. If everybody could please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry.
Here.
Ms. Reagan.
Present.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Brooks.
Here.
I'd like to move down to approval of minutes for October 1st, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Move to contracts and agreements for approval. We have the 2019 holiday schedule.
It's pretty much the same we've been following. I move for approval.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second for approval. Commissioners have any further discussion on this?
I had Jenny pull up some federal holidays and some of the school, I think we looked at Muncie schools.
In the city of Muncie.
Yeah, we're not far off from
Yeah.
those.
Okay. Steve, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next, we have the Med Bill Corporation Billing Service and Agreement for EMS. Mr. Rogers.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jason Rogers, Delaware County EMS Director. This is, we're at the end of our contract with Medville. We've negotiated a slight price increase with them, down a full percent from what they had, what they wanted as far as a increase. So I'm happy with it. They do a good job.
John, was you able to look this over?
I was, and I didn't find any problem with it or any issue.
I'll make a motion we approve the new Medville building service agreement for Delaware County EMS.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Thank you.
Jason. We had a discussion about our IT service several months ago. Had a company structure point to look into it with some options. Also had a contract sent to John concerning this. John, was you able to look over the contract? And
I was, I didn't find any issue with the contract.
we have had some issues, and we do need to have some upgrades done on our IT service. The other commissioners, I know it was sent to you guys also. Do you guys have any concerns with the contract at this point, or would you like to move forward with it?
Were we thinking about doing it in different steps?
Different steps, and I believe that's the way they did the contract, wasn't it, John?
It was in
They did
phases,
it in
yes.
phases.
And payments were due at different times, depending on the phase. And there was not an obligation to do each and every phase.
Right.
It was up to the commissioners to determine which phase they wanted to do and how they wanted to time that.
And I believe he also sent an email stating that he got with Mr. Fluke, and they have done a few upgrades, but there's still some upgrades that they'll need help with to get done here.
I didn't know it was going to be on the agenda, so I'd like to table it myself.
That's fine.
You make
Put that in motion.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to table it. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes, thank you. Next, we'll move to department heads and elected officials. We have Jason Rogers for the vehicle surplus.
Yes, Commissioners, we're still working on the Gov Deals Vehicle Surplus. We have had some checks come in, so I just make you aware of that. But we have one vehicle that is ready to go to surplus, and we had a request from Gaston to see about getting them some assistance. And what we'd like to do is get this vehicle to, it's one of our old squads, get this vehicle to them so they can use it as a first responder vehicle.
What year is it?
It's a 07, 07. I emailed Denise the VIN number and all the information.
I think Jason and I met with them 2 weeks ago. I think.
Yes.
And there's a need for that up there, so I'd make a motion and we approve the vehicle going to Gaston Fire Department.
Second.
No motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Sherry, it's a 2007 K1500 Chevy with about 150,000 miles. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nate, the VA stand down?
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Just wanted to report back a little bit of what we did at the Delaware County Veterans Stand Down and give you guys an idea of what all we did. First thing is we served 143 veterans. It was the largest veteran stand down event that we've had ever that we can recall. 53 vendors to include employers, which is a new part of that. We never really had employers in the past. Community service organizations, educational institutions, which Ivy Tech, Ball State, they're new. The federal VA was there, IDVA was there, local veterans organizations like Allegiance and AMVETS. We served 400 plus meals while we were there, which was kind of cool to do. We do have some invoices that are still rolling in. I would ask to be a little patient with them. We're trying to get them to us so we can pay for those things out of our donation account. But I do want to make sure that I thank everybody that was a part of this and helped us get through this. Obviously, our planning committee, Delaware County Veterans Affairs team, my office, Delaware County Commissioners, Daughters of the American Revolutionary War, Colonial Dames, Eagles Aries 231 of Muncie, Exchange Club of Muncie, Chick-fil-A of Muncie, Dandy Concessions, Barking Cow in Gaston, Zaki Ali, Attorney at Law, Delaware County Republican Women's Club, Delaware County United Veterans Council, Yorktown American Legion and Auxiliary, and then the Delville American Legion. Those are the folks that, in one way, shape, or form, donated money or services to us for free. The last thing that I want to mention is we have a float that's going to be going in the homecoming parade here this next week. We would like to invite any and all veterans that want to participate with us in that float to please feel free to join us at 8:30 in the morning where the stage is at. I do believe it's Muncie Central, so if anybody would like to come up to that, we'd love to have them. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nate, I think also we should give the Fair Board a shout out because moving it to the Heartland where the air conditioner was on, and
Yeah.
I think that was very much
Yeah,
appreciated.
absolutely. We appreciate that. The reason, I guess the people that I was trying to recognize there were more of the people that, gave monetary
Well, that's-
donations
well, that's
or
fine. I
things
just
like
wanna
that, so. Yeah.
Give the Fair Board a shout out.
Absolutely, thank you.
Well, I went out to that and it was amazing to see all the companies and the people that come together to assist those veterans, and Nate and his crew did an amazing job. But it was very nice.
Thank you. One last thing I do want to mention, I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning, but there were 3 veterans that were officially homeless that we, within a week, had them off the street and into a facility. And then there were also 3 full-time positions given out that day. So I know it's not a big bang there, but just anything is better
That's
than
right.
nothing. So
All adds up.
You guys did a good job, you and Ralph. I appreciate you guys.
thank you.
Thank you, guys. Do you have anyone else? I know that here recently, especially with the election going on, the jail project has been a big concern, and there's been statements that the commissioners that set up here didn't do our due diligence in looking at different options. I did ask Mr. Brook to go back from when this process started. Mr. Brook, could you explain what all we have done to look at the building across the street? Also looking at the Fusion Shell building and also the ASINS building, so people can know that we didn't do this recklessly, that we have been doing our homework and studying this quite often in some of the meetings that we've had?
Sure. I've been I'm working on a report at your request that I should have done here in the next couple of days, but this process started really with a presentation by Garmong, as well as a letter that was received from the Department of Corrections as to deficiencies in the jail. The sheriff brought Garmong to the Commissioners meeting on September 5th, 2017, to promote the shell building out in the Industrial Center as a location for the jail. The cost was around $60 to $70 million, as I recall from the minutes, to renovate that. I don't think it included the cost of the real estate, but it may have. That's one thing I was checking on. That was a $60 to $70 million cost, and if you were adding the courts into that, it was going to be over $100 million. The commissioners then started their due diligence and hired their own engineering firm to do an analysis on other options. One of them was retrofitting the current Justice Center and jail and adding at least a 15,000 square foot addition to the current facility, and or adding a third floor to that building. There were all sorts of issues that arose with regard to the way the jail was constructed, the building code, retrofitting, and the cost was going to be prohibitive. Plus, there was going to be the additional cost of moving all the prisoners out to find another facility to house them for approximately 2 to 3 years, or maybe longer, depending on the length of construction. Another option that was explored in the fall of 2017 was what I call a green earth facility, which is something from the ground up on new earth. There wasn't a large enough space in this area, the downtown area, or immediate vicinity. It would take about 5 to 7 acres at least. And so the county had some property at the highway department that could be used. That was going to be about $80 million from the ground up. But there were going to be issues concerning whether there was sufficient electrical services to that place. There was going to be wastewater issues because Liberty Regional services that particular area. And there was some other infrastructure that was going to have to be done on top of that with the ground, the way the slope was, and that sort of thing. Then the other option was looking at an existing building, other than a shell building, which to operate. And the ASINS building presented an opportunity at around a $45 million price tag to do that. And I was just looking at this particular issue. It also, one of the other things the commissioners wanted was to try and seek out a funding that was within their means. $80 million would require a bond issue and require a separate tax that would be imposed on people. There is the legislature did allow the county council to adopt an additional tax increase on income tax, which would generate between $2 million and $4 million for 20 years additionally. That would be, people would have to pay more money to help fund that $80 million. And whether it's a brand new building or whether it's the Garmong building at $80 million. The $40 to $45 million possibility at ASINS building was something that, given the financial analysis that was done actually 4 or 5 months before, showed that the ASINS building could be renovated and put in without a tax increase. It could use the edit funds and still leave edit funds for other projects. So that would mean that this could be constructed without a tax increase. The commissioners looked at other property downtown and didn't find any suitable property that had the space requirements for just even a jail facility. Now, the other things that commissioners estimated, and I estimated as well, were the operating costs after it was built. If you use the Garmong building or the Green Earth building, you have operating costs for transportation back and forth from that location to the Justice Center here, which was going to require the sheriff's office to have vehicles just like they do now, and not really save in that regard, not saving any manpower, and actually probably increase manpower. So that wasn't really an option. These were all done in the public meetings. These were all discussed at various times, but because the commissioners only meet the first and third Monday of every month, it kind of gets lost when people don't pay attention to these things. So that's why you requested that I start accumulating all this and put this into one record as a synopsis of what's all transpired. And that's what I'm doing, and that's what I've found so far.
Thank you, Mr. Crowe. And one of the other issues that people brought up was rehabilitation. We have listened to the people. We are working with different places to put rehabilitation into this facility. But we're doing our due diligence. We're doing everything that we can do to make sure that we don't put another tax on the community, which hopefully everybody will be happy with. We're not pushing this to where we're going to end up with the same failure that we had over 20 years ago with the facility that we have across the street. I hate it that all this is coming during an election year, because this is something that people want to push, and people want to say that we're not doing our due diligence, that we're rushing this through. Back toward the end of June, we did have to pass an ordinance for the simple fact if we didn't pass that ordinance, we would spend probably an extra $150,000 of taxpayer money to do a study that we had already done prior, but with new legislation that would have came out July 1st, we would have ended up and had to spend $150,000 of taxpayers' money, like I said, on a study that we had already done. After that was done, we have slowed down. We have been looking at the rehabilitation. You know, we're working with Umball to come up with the numbers. That way, these three commissioners don't put another tax burden on the citizens. The building that I know we've had, they've called bipartisan sheriffs come out with an article in the newspaper, that they don't understand what we're doing, they don't understand what we are looking at. One, I guess, brought up some numbers. Those numbers he was bringing up was from 10 years ago or more, when he was sheriff at that time. The other sheriff, I believe his last stay as sheriff was back in '04, possibly. To come in and not know the numbers, or not sit down with one of these commissioners and talk to us about what's going on and what we're doing, and then go to Mr. Roysman, which I'm glad Mr. Roysman did call me and ask me for a comment, and I stick by the comment that I said to him in the newspaper. One of the sheriffs, I mean, actually is still working over at the sheriff's office and has a pretty good job. Everybody understands in politics, if you go against anybody, that good job you have could go away. You know, it bothers me that people come out and say stuff without knowing everything that we are doing up here as commissioners. We are working hard for our community.
Absolutely. One thing I neglected to say was that in the Garmong Economic Development Agreement, when the building was built, there is a provision that only lets Garmong do the work.
Correct.
So it wouldn't be like this would go out for a public bidding. Garmong is required under the Economic Development Agreement to do the work.
Right. But, you know, I want people to understand too, is not only is it the jail, but you guys have to, I would like for everybody to look at what these three commissioners have done over the last few years. Commissioners' jobs just isn't building that new building or renovating the Wilson's building. Our job is also the roads. Look at the roads that's been paved and the road work that's been done within this community with these commissioners. during this period, I haven't heard anybody really bring up about the road works that we have done, or what any of these commissioners has done over the last 4 years that hasn't been done prior to us being here. Contracts that we've done, we've done our due diligence and everything. So for when people want to come out just because it's a political season and say that we're not doing our job is absurd to me. Know the facts before you speak. That's all I would like to say.
Well, I think we gotta remember too, we're up to, is it 20-some lawsuits, John? from-
Yes, 21.
From inmates and, you know, I've said it several times, like everyone else, no one wants to build a jail. It's not something any elected official thinks about, is wanting to build a jail. No one wants to do that.
And I believe, and a lot of people's not saying it, is part of that $63 million was probably 20 of it probably went to attorneys for the lawsuit that we had over 20 years ago from the inmates. So we're trying to keep from spending money that we should not spend for a lawsuit. So I would just like for everybody to understand that we are working hard and we're doing our job. And anybody that knows me is, I just don't go into anything recklessly. I do my job, I do my homework. So I just would like for everybody to understand we are working hard for our community. And we'll continue to work hard for this community. So, and thank you, Mr. Brook. And if you
I'll
could,
get that
as soon as
report
you
to you.
get that to us. Does anybody else have anything? If not, we'll go to payment of claims in the amount of $1,150,780.45.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next, will anybody from the public have any comments, any concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion to recess.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed?